So what we did was we did the HTML with the Fatima restaurant, as you remember. And now we're going to do the CSS. The CSS is basically a way to make your website look nicer. Probably watch this video and also the lecture I shared, and hopefully you have like a general idea of what the CSS is. So let's go over like the couple of the components that we mentioned here quickly, and then go to the Git and GitHub. So we can check each one of them from W3 schools. So let's go to that website and go to Learn CSS. So this website is a really good website to practice, and not only practice, but also to see examples of what the CSS does, and the different parts of CSS, like a resource basically. So I shared that. If you click CSS, it will show you all the things you need to know about CSS. So these are all the different parts of CSS. If we go to the introduction, what is CSS? It explains all that. Usually, this is, they're basically saying this is a website. And as you can see, it has colors and all that. It looks nice. So if we try different styles, so these are different styles of CSS, you could change it. This is a different way of doing CSS, and it's completely different. If we try the style 3, you see it's very plain. It's very simple. Style 4 is very retro. This is like 1990s kind of websites. And no style, it's basically just a simple text. So that's kind of like what you're looking for when it comes to CSS. You want to make your website look nice by changing the color, the background, different type of fonts, all that stuff. And we talked about the syntax. This is called selector. So this is how CSS looks like. Syntax, basically you grab the HTML element and then you say curly bracket, and then you define what you want to define. So basically what we're saying here, we're saying make this H1 color blue, make the color of this text blue. And then we're saying change the font size to 12 pixels. So as you remember from like Microsoft Word, you could change it like the color of the font, you could change it the size of the font, all that stuff. You could do the same thing with CSS. So as you can see here, we're selecting a paragraph, right? And then we say in the color red, and then text align. And this is exactly as like the Microsoft Word. If you want to make your text go to the left, to the right, all that stuff, that's how you do it in code, basically in CSS. So we're basically saying take this text, which we could actually practice here. We're taking these texts, which are paragraphs, and we're saying make their color red. We can make them blue. And then we're saying put them in center. We can put them in right, put them right, and then we could put them left too. So we can do all that stuff with CSS, and it's pretty nice. So that's what selector is. You're just grabbing the element in HTML, which is this, and you're basically defining it the way you want it to look like. All right, so padding, border, and box model. So all these go together, and they are right here. So if we go back to the list of the stuff, we have border, margin, padding. So all these work together. There's a box model here. So border is the, as it says, it's just basically the border of your element. If you want to make it bigger, thicker, different color, as you can see here, it's curvy here. So there's so many ways to do it. As you can see here, you only define here, you make bold here, and then you say no border on other sides. This is also one way to do it. Border has like a lot of ways to make it, different ways to define it. There's dotted, there's this and that, and we could try example here. Let's go here. As you can see here, there's all these different ways of doing it. So just think of as like Microsoft Word, basically. If you want to give something a border in CSS, this is how you do it. You say border style dotted. If we let's just keep one here, and let's keep one like that. And then let's remove all this. So I can make one that's simpler. So if we just run this, it's just gonna say dotted border. We're just gonna say this one, this is a bordered paragraph. I want to show you a simpler way. Okay, so run this, it's just gonna say that. If we want to target this paragraph, as we did earlier, we just do that, and then open that curly bracket. And then instead of defining border style here, and then defining border with all that stuff, you could do it in one line. So this is how you do it in one line. You just say border, you say 2 pixels for how thick the border is. You define what it is. Is it dashed? Is it solid? So we're going to say this one solid, and then you define the color. So let's say blue. So now if we do that, you see we have a blue border, and that's interesting. So, and you can make it as thick as you want. If we do 10, it becomes thicker. You could give it a margin here. Margin basically is outside. So if you want to give it space to outside of your element, which is the paragraph now, this is how you do margin. We say 30 pixels. Okay. And now that we pushed it from outside, if we want to push it from inside, so the text, if we want the text on the border to have a space, we use padding. So padding, let's say 20 pixels of padding. As you can see, we gave a space here, and that's padding. So that's what we call box model. So if we go here, that's called the box model. So the margin is outside and it's transparent. The margin is always transparent. You have the border, you have the padding, and then you have your content. So that's how you create a box. So it could be anything. You don't even have to have this border, to have a smaller border. But let's say you have things next to each other, you want to give them a border and a space. You don't want to make them to be like together. So this is how you do it. And also there's a different way of defining margin. If you want to define margin, you have to define all the sides, right? So this side, the top, left, right, and the bottom, you could define them this way. So you could say, and I'll show you here. If we go to margin, you define the margin top, margin right, margin left, margin bottom, margin left. And what we did here, we said make all the sides 30. So this is how you define each one of them separately. And as you can see here, this one is the top. So the top. So this is another way of defining it. You put all the whatever you want. This is going to be the top. This is going to be the right. I usually think of as like a clock. So the first one is the top, and then the second one is the right. The third one is the bottom, and the last one is the left. So for our example, if we do this, 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 10 pixels, and 20 pixels. So let's say, so what do you think of, what is this one? What is this one defining? And Khadiji or Kudrasan if you want. That's the top, okay. Sorry, I didn't see the message there. So that's going to be the top. And this one, so we start from the top right here, and we go to the right. So this one, the 20 one, is the right. Another 10 one is the bottom, and the last one is the left. So it goes like that, like a clockwise. So this is one way to define it. Also, you could define this, because this one and this one are the top and the bottom, right? You could just keep them one. Like you don't have to define them both separately. And if you want, if these are exact the same, you could define them the same way. So now you have this is the top and the bottom, and this is the left and right. And now if we do that, as you can see, the top and the bottom are smaller space, and the left and the right have more space. So the same thing applies to padding. So if I do this 15 pixels, 30 pixels, 15 pixels, and 30 pixels. Now, what do you think of what is the 15 pixels for padding? What do you think? Remember, it's exactly the same as the margin. Is the 15 the top? Is it the bottom? Is it the right? The top. Okay. So the 15 is the top, right? And this is the right. So you go here, the right, the bottom, and then the left. So, and you could see here, example here. So you could look at W3 schools whenever you're confused about something. So now if we run, it's the same thing. We could make this short by making the top and the bottom 15. So we could remove this 15, and then same thing for the left and right, that they are the same. So if you do that, it's going to keep the same size. It's not going to change. So that's the box model, basically. The margins, the padding, and the border defines the margins. Okay. So I'm not going to go each one of them one by one because we're not going to have a lot of time. Let me know if you have any question about anything else in here, where there's the colors. So you could just go to here and then read about the colors here. So this is how the colors are defined. There's a hex color, there's a color name, and then there is the RGB. Okay, so RGB, hex, and color names. Those are three things you need to know. And then the display, there's two displays, there's inline and block. In the next lesson, you will learn something called flex, but for now, the inline and block are the most important ones. And also, if you go down here, you'll see display somewhere here, display. So read here, and you will understand what the display does. Any question, Fortun, about the different parts?
No.
Okay. Maybe you're wondering, how does this come together with the lesson? So the lesson was you take the Fatima restaurant you created, and then you make it look better, right? So I asked you to make it look like this. This image, I'm not sure how to show it, all of it, but to make it like this image by using CSS. So how does that come together? We'll go over that in a minute. But we're gonna do that. We're gonna start with the GIT. So what is the GIT? GIT is the terminal, basically. It's the way to manage, to kind of like access your computer. If you have Windows, Fortun, do you have Windows or do you have Mac?
Windows.
You have Windows, okay. If you have Windows, then you get something called Git Bash. So go to this website, Git Bash, download this, click Windows here, and download this. So this is what you need to access the terminal. So I shared that in Slack. So you click this, and it will install it to your computer. I have a Mac, so I already have the terminal installed if you have a Mac. So when you do that, then what you're gonna do is we're gonna start that terminal. So, and it's gonna look something like this. So let me just do this clear. So it's gonna look like something like this. So this looks really scary, and it looks like something like a hacker will be using. It's really scary for the first time, I understand. And ask Khadija, the first time it's not, for me, it was not easy. For anyone, it's not easy for the first time. But soon you will you will get used to it. It will make sense soon. So all you have to do now is download that Git bash, open it. When you install it, open it. It should look like this. And then what you can do is this is like your computer. This is like your files. So let's say you have files here. It's like accessing your files like this, but with the terminal. So now if you want to know where you're at, you say ls. ls stands for list. So when you do that and say enter, it's going to show all the files that are in your where you are currently. And then if you want to go to any specific file, you say cd. So cd means change directory. That's how you kind of go into a folder. And also that's how you get out of folder. Let's say we want to get out of this folder. We say cd ... and then it takes you back. So it goes back. Now we're in the pictures folder. If you have Windows, it's going to show a path of where you're at. So now we're here. How do we navigate to another folder? Get some water. How do we navigate to another folder? We navigate it through using the cd. So cd is change directory. If you say ... it takes you back. If you say cd and then the folder name, it's going to take you to that folder. So if we say now, let's say ls, it's going to show us all the folders. We want to go to this folder. So we say cd GEBI. And if you just write the folder's name, the first like 3 letters, and tap your keyboard where it says tab, it's gonna fill out and complete it for you. And now we're in that folder. So you could do so many things. If you want to create a folder, mostly you will not be you'll not be creating a folder. But if you want to create a folder, you say mkdir, means make directory, and directory is just like folder. And then you say, okay, so we say here, let's call it CSS review. Okay. Now, if you want to know if that folder is created, you say ls, and then you look at what do you have in here, all the list. So do we have the CSS review, which is right here? We have it. If you want to go inside it, you just say cd CSS review. If you write CSS only, there's multiple, maybe there's other CSS folders. So it's best to just write down the name sometimes. We're in that folder. Let's say we want to create a file in that folder. You just say touch. So these are just the commands that you're gonna memorize. So you could write them down somewhere, and then you could just keep using them. So I'll say write down touch somewhere and have a description of it creates files basically. So we want to create something like index.html. So this is how you create a file. Now, if you want to know if that file is created, you could either say ls, or you could go to your computer, open the folder, open pictures. We're going to all open GEBI, and then the folder we created, which was CSS review. And as you see, there is index.html. And if we also create another file, let's say touch index, let's say styles, that's CSS, enter, and as you can see, it's created. So it's pretty much just like saying right click, create file, or create folder. That's exactly what it is. So that's how you navigate through. Let's say we want to leave this folder, you say cd ... and you go back to the previous folder. So that's how you navigate in general. The next thing is understanding something called Git. What is Git? Git is a system that was created for us that works with the thing I sent you, Git bash. It's basically a way to, let's say clear here. It's a way to to manage your the changes of files. Let's say you're working with someone or you're working by yourself and you made changes to a file. Let's also open this with let's open it with the editor. So let's say code dot. So if you say code dot, it usually opens the terminal for you. It opens the editor. And if you don't have this editor, this is called the VS Code. It's basically a way to edit your files. So it's gonna have on the left side, it's gonna have the files. And here you could just type your code here, your HTML code. So you could just say that, and then you could type it here and then save it. So if you don't have that, go to Visual Studio Code website right here, and then download the Windows one. So download the Windows. So I'll share that with you too. Okay, that's that. So this editor basically helps you write your code, and then you could save it and then send it back to me. Usually, you take another step. You don't create the files from scratch. I'll create the files for you, and then you'll just copy and put them in your computer. And I'll show you that. So I was talking about Git. So what is Git? So Git is a software. So it says here, Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle everything from a small to very large projects with its speed and efficiency. Basically, what they're saying is it's a system that is a software that you install in your computer, and then it keeps track of changes of files. Remember how when you're working on like projects, let's say you have Microsoft Word open for you, and then let's see if we can open Microsoft Word. Where's my Microsoft Words? So let's say you open Microsoft Word, you worked on a file, you write a lot of stuff with it, but you want to save it. Let's start with a blank one, and you wrote something important info, not import, important info. You wrote stuff, and now you want to save this, but the problem is you want to save it in like a different version. So let's say the school said every change you make, all the changes you make, you have to write down the name of the person who made the changes, and also you have to write down the date and the time when the changes were made, and also you have to write down what changes you made. Okay, so you need to save 3 things. So usually, I mean, if you're like doing in like a basic way, you could just do this save as, and then when you're naming it, you could just say version 1, or you could say something like that, and then you could say who's working, let's say Duran, the date when you saved it. It usually shows in the file, but you could just say something like April 12th, and then you can put the time, the time here. Now this is one version, so this is version 1. You could just say version 1, or you could just say your name and the date and all that stuff, and then save it. Okay, save it like that. So that's saved it for you. Now someone else came and they made changes. They said more important stuff and blah blah blah. Okay, the same file. And now the school said if someone else makes change, they have to save it in a different separate file and different separate name and separate all that stuff. They have to go here and say save as, and then change in the name to let's say Fortune here, and April 12, let's say they made a change like April 15, and the time is different, okay, and now they saved it. So you have two different versions, and now if you keep doing that, then there might be errors with the date, there might be issues with the date, the tracking might be completely. So let's say there's like 100 people working on the same project and like keep saving the same things. How do we know which one is the latest? How do we keep track of all that? So for programming, we have a Git. So Git keeps track of exactly what you did, exactly when you did, and exactly who did that. So that's what it does basically. So let's say, let's go to the lesson here, and we go to the assignment, okay? I'm just going to show you the example. We click the assignment. So the first step of the process of like submitting this assignment is by basically forking it. So forking, so right here at the top. Forking means make a copy of everything for me. So you say fork, and then it's already forked for me. So say already forked. So you say fork, and it will fork for you. So now it's going to be, this is going to show your name. So if we go back here to my profile, and let's say like intro to say CSS, intro CSS. So this is the one. So when I fork it, it's going to show my name here, and it's going to show the GIT school where you forked it from. So it says forked from here. Now the files are yours. Now all you have to do is just you will add me. So go to settings, meaning when you adding me, it means that you're giving me access to the changes that you make. So I can see the changes you made. So you go to settings, you go to manage access, and then you say add a collaborator, and you put in my name here. So Duranale. And I'll give you the instructions step by step. All these steps I'm doing, I'll give you a written version of them when we finish this. The next step is you have to clone this. Cloning means copying these files to your computer. So click this place where it says code, copy this link, and then go to your terminal, and then go to wherever you want to paste it, wherever you want to put these files. So if you don't know where you want to put it, say ls, and then look for something like a folder that you created. Usually I'll recommend you to create a folder in your like desktop or documents or pictures. Call it something like lessons, or give you lessons, give you school lessons, whatever. And then put all the files there. So navigate to like CD to like documents or desktop, and then CD after that, then CD to like the file. So let's say lessons, whatever you call it. After that, you say, when you're in there, you say git clone, and then the link you copied. So the link you copied like that, you paste it right there, and then say enter. So now it's going to go ahead and grab that information and put it right there. So as you can see, where is it? We put it in here, CSS review, and it's right here. These are the files we already created. We can just delete them. I mean, move them to the trash. I'm used to Windows, so intro to CSS is the files that we copied from the GitHub, and GitHub is a website. So we can go over it, but watch the lecture. You want to understand what GitHub is. GitHub is basically a online version. It's a free website, so you have to make an account here to make the forking and all that. It's a free website, and it's where you store your code. It's like Instagram for where Instagram is for your like photos. GitHub is for your code, basically. A kind of like a weird comparison, but it is similar comparison. So when you do that, it kind of copied everything here. Now you have to go inside there. So you have to say CD, and then the folder name, which is intro to CSS. If you just say intro, which is intro, and then say tab, it's going to fill out the rest of it for you. Now in here, you have to create something called branch. So the first step is to create a branch, meaning there is a branch already here. A branch is basically a like normal branch. Like in a tree, you have like the actual tree, like the root of the tree, of the trunk, or the trunk of the tree, and then you have branches. So branches are like a bank branch. So bank, they have like a corporate bank, and then they have branches in different cities. So you're creating basically a version of your code. So separate version that you could work on. So you say git checkout -v. This is the command you're going to use to create a branch. and then you create a branch. So usually I would say your first name dash your last name. So which we already created that one. So I'll just create one called run only. Now it's going to say, oh, we created, and we switch to that. The next step is to work on your code. So you open it with the editor, you say code dot, and you work on it. So now you make the changes, you add your code here, add the HTML, add the CSS, and then save all the files. So when you save them, you can save all of them, and then go back to your terminal. And now if you say, now if we make changes here, let's make changes here. Let's say something like body, color, red. Okay, save that. Now if we say here git status, these are like commands that I can share with you. Git status, it's going to say, oh, there's changes that happened, and it's index.css. It's modified. So now we have to put it in the Git system. So we have to tell the Git system, oh, keep track of this. We have some changes. So we say git add dot. So that will add the changes we made to the Git system. The next one is we have to commit the changes, meaning we have to say, here is the changes we made, commit it, and like memorize it basically. So we say git commit, and then we give it a message. So this message -m stands for message. You have to put it in quotes. This message would be whatever you changed. So here you could say we added baddie in CSS, something like that, whatever you did, and say enter. The last step is to send the changes to GitHub right here. So to do that, the last step is to say git push -u origin. So that's basically kind of like a command. So you have to keep that, you have to memorize that basically. So I'll write it down, and I'll send you all these commands already written out for you. And then you say the branch. So this will be to run now because we created that branch. Otherwise, it will say something like your first name, last name. Now, if we say enter, if it's the first time of you using Git, it will ask you, hey, you have to kind of log in, or it will give you error or something like that. So let me know if that happens to you. Otherwise, you should see this, and if you go back to GitHub, you should say, hey, you submitted something. So I see some changes. So, and the last step is to create the click here. Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, I made some changes, and I want those changes to be applied to the main branch, which is the main code. So you say that, and here where it says base repository, you change it to your name. So look for your name here. And the last thing is you add me as a review. So if I accept it when you send me invite, you will see my name here, and you choose it, and then it will be added here. And here you just say create pull request. So when we create the pull request, you copy this link and then go to the Git, not the Git, go to here, the training material, go to forms, and submit your form basically by using that link. I know it's a lot of steps, but it's necessary for you to go through this. It's like a pain that you have to go through for you to get used to the system and get used to the lessons and the process. And eventually it will get easier as you kind of like keep doing it, it will get easier. So that's kind of like the Git process. That's what Git is basically, and that's how we use it in our school. It looks really hard, very scary, but I will say, and I will give you all the steps you need. I'll give you the commands that you need, and inshallah, the more you practice, the easier it gets. So, and I understand like this might seem like advanced stuff, but it's basically like a shock to the system. So it's like I'm taking you, I'm putting you in the middle of the sea, and I'm telling you, go ahead and swim, and let's see. And I'm here to help. So every time you're about to drown, I'm gonna help you. But you have to get that shock out of your system first. Otherwise, it will be like I'm just gonna be babying you and putting you in like the the shore and like telling you, hey, here's the water, and you're just coming back, landing back, and saying, oh, I'm scared of the water, and then just So I don't want you. I don't want you to. I don't want to baby you. I just want to like throw you in the water, and then learn the struggle. But then eventually, in a little bit, you will see yourself swimming, jump into the water, becoming confident with yourself. So be patient with the pain. Inshallah, no pain, no gain with Ijrin. So any questions so far? And Khadija, if you want to add something to it, feel free. You also had this experience, so you could give Fortune a insight if you want, if you like. So let me know, inshallah.
Yeah, this would seem very easy later on when you're doing really big things, but right now it will seem really hard. You just have to be patient.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be patient and inshallah ask questions and communicate with me.
Inshallah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that would be your assignment. Basically, the first one, you copy your Fatima restaurant code from CodePen, and then you paste it here in index.html. So just paste it here, or you could just start from scratch and restart it again. And then after that, when you're done with that, you link your CSS right here to here. So, and also I shared in the lecture how to link CSS to a HTML file. Otherwise, let me know if this doesn't work for you. If you don't link it, it will not, the CSS will not affect the HTML. So link it here, and then you could go ahead and like check each item like, okay, this is the navigation. I want to make changes to the navigation. So you go here, you say nav, and then make changes here like the background, things like that. Okay. All right. If you don't have any other question, we can conclude it, and inshallah, try your best.
Inshallah.
All right. Khadija, do you have any question?
No, thank you. This was a really good review.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No problem, inshallah. And also, this was not the lecture, so I shared the lecture, but inshallah, feel free. If you, Khadija, also, if you, I don't think you could fork it again, but I would say maybe go back to that lesson and kind of like redo it and make it nicer, and then you could submit it again if you want. So feel free, whatever way that you feel like is best, that works for you.
That's what I was gonna do. Get it all the way to the stretch problems.
Yeah, that'd be great. Mashallah, that'd be great. Okay. All right, guys, I'll see you. Let me see the schedule. So today we're here. So tomorrow, keep working on this problem. Tomorrow we can take a new lesson. So so keep working on this assignment, but tomorrow we have to start the next lesson because we have to kind of move forward. But yeah, and then Wednesday you're going to be working on the new lesson, and also if you didn't finish this one we went over today, you could keep working on it, inshallah. So that'll be the schedule. Tomorrow we have a new lesson, and it's going to be more of CSS. So this is going to be, what are we going to go over, inshallah. All right, and also I'll share I was talking about the other team, the Ramadan schedule. So I'm thinking of since we're gonna do iftar, and you guys live in Minnesota, we have to kind of move it forward to like maybe like 6, maybe before 6, or we have to move it backwards so that we do after iftar. So it's up to you, inshallah. Let me know, and I'll talk to Muhammad, inshallah. So we'll talk about that tomorrow before. I'll send a message before the class starts, inshallah. Okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. So take care.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
No problem.